The moment you've all been waiting for. Customizations. So fun. My tea cooled down since the last video. This little guy on there. This is a deli, a Jewish deli in Pennsylvania, here in the United States, where I used to, right outside of Philadelphia, where I used to go to college. Great sandwiches, great food. Had to get a mug, sipping this green tea, trying to live forever. All right, let's do this thing. So what we're gonna do here is this is a brand new listing, listing 203 in Nashville. We're gonna set up the customizations here on the left side of the screen. As a general overview, these customizations help automate this process. They are the parameters that allow the system to update every 24 hours without you and I having to go in there and do that. So they're super powerful. There's a lot of them. I have to be honest, I don't use them all. The last thing you want is 3 different things bringing your pricings down and not enough things bringing your prices up, and you're undercutting the market without even realizing it. So there's a happy medium here, and I hope to try to get there with this video. All right, so to start editing, you just hit edit in the top corner, and the first thing that comes up, as it should, is minimum stay settings. Now, these are going to override any minimum stay settings that you have on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. So I always turn this on unless you want different on each platform. Then don't turn this on. For a property like this, 2 bedrooms, sleeps 8. We're going to do 2 here and 2 here. Orphan gaps. These are, let's say, someone books from Friday to Sunday. But then someone goes ahead and books Monday to Thursday. So Friday the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Friday the 1st, Saturday the 2nd, Sunday the 3rd. Sunday night is not booked. Monday the 4th is booked. Tuesday the 5th, Wednesday the 6th, and so on. So that leaves Sunday night as an orphan night. But because our minimum stay rule is 2 days, that night is kind of lost in the shuffle and no one can book it. So what we'll do is if the length of the gap is 1 night, so what I just did here is basically whenever the gap is 1 night, change the minimum to one night, and do that for all opportunities within the next 60 days. Cool. Last minute bookings. I don't turn this on because I don't want to attract parties or cheap stays for 1 night. So that's not what I'm going to do. Far out bookings, I do turn this on. And what we'll do here is weekday 2, weekend 3. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be 3 nights. And we'll do this beyond, how many days is 6 months? 1, 2, 3. Let's do 5 months. Around 5 months is 150 nights. Just get some longer bookings in there. Oh, I'm sorry. We want 3 nights, both on weekday and weeknight. So you don't even have to hit save changes just yet. You can just leave this, and it'll all keep saving as we keep going. So to review, this is just your default minimum stay rule. I always do fixed. I don't mess around with booking value. This applies to all your booking services. Orphan gaps are the gaps in between 2 bookings, how you want them to be addressed. You can add multiples as well. So let's say there's a circumstance where the gap is like 5 nights, let's say it's someone checks out on a Saturday, and you want to get that Saturday filled up. You can adjust that either down or up to make the minimum whatever you want. If you want the minimum to be 5 nights to go into the next week, you can go ahead and do that. You just have to make sure that the gaps are set up in here. Last minute bookings, self-explanatory. Within a certain date range, usually 7 to 30 days, you can adjust your minimum stay settings down. And then far out bookings, the opposite. Within beyond 5 months time, if someone wants to book, go ahead. They will book for 3-night minimum. Sometimes you can make it even higher. Smart presets. This is when you get into some of the fun stuff. Things that I use the most will be customized last minute prices, um, customized far out prices, and then these two, occupancy based and seasonal profile. If you do any two in here, please do these two. I will spend the most time here. Demand factor sensitivity, not something that I dive into a lot. So customized last minute pricing. I actually enjoy the default setting, but I'm just going to change this to a 20% discount within 7 days of that booking. Just get someone in there. You can make that higher or lower, whatever you please. I'm actually going to do 14 days because in this case, if this property isn't booked within 14 days, we want to get someone in there and start discounting that stuff. PriceLabs default for orphan days, 20% discount is applied for gaps of 2 nights or less. Awesome, I like that. Customized far out prices. Let's see what we have here. Premium starting 60 days out. Gotcha. I actually like their new update here. They used to use fixed numbers, but I'm going to leave this at what they have, a nice 20% gradual increase over the 5 months. 5 months following the first 2 months, so really 7 months out, there's a 20% uplift on there, and that's not including demand updates that happen at individual dates and holidays and things like that. Occupancy-based price adjustments. So let's go and turn this on, and let's go edit the profile. All right, like I said, if there is 2 things that you get out of this, it is occupancy-based pricing adjustments and seasonal profiles. We'll start with occupancy. What this is, it's an awesome tool. It's what will allow you to really automate this process. And what you're seeing here is the top of the table are date ranges. On the left side of the table are percentage changes. Or percentage of occupancy, I'm sorry. In the middle of the table are the percentage changes that are going to take effect for those date ranges and that occupancy profile. So, for instance, this first block means within 0 to 15 days, if the calendar is less than 10% occupied, we're going to drop the prices by 15%. So on and so forth. If the date is 31 to 60 days out and we are at 50% or less occupied, we are not going to change the pricing at all. So this is very cool, and what I typically do is go from 61 to 90, and then I go from 91 to 120. With these ones, I get super aggressive, especially in Nashville. If we are in this first 4 blocks here, we should be really discounting these prices. And I usually like to go in the 5% increments that they suggest. I can always add a little kicker here. And then no change and no change if we're at this, the higher percentage of booked. We will get into the weeds now when we start to get a little strategic. I'm going to stay aggressive between 16 and 30 nights. Like I said, this is different for every market. In Nashville, we're looking at lead times anywhere between 30 to like 150 days. We have a lot of bookings at high market prices for June. We're talking in January 31st of 2024 right now, or June 2024 for most of our properties. The weekends are booked already. This is really only going to affect weekday pricing. So if I was looking at February and we had less than 20% occupancy, we have to drop our prices significantly to get people in there. It's the low season, and also we should be seeing higher lead times than that. So going to stay aggressive here. Remember, this is all your risk tolerance and understanding of the portfolio as well, of your portfolio and also the houses around you. I'm going to continue with the -5, 0, and I'm not gonna bump up prices if we're approaching 80 or 100% occupancy. All right, next, 31 to 60 days. Hold on, drink of the tea. 31 to 60 days. This is when we want to be a little bit more conservative. Still, though, honestly, so 30% occupied in most markets means each weekend, 2 nights, a stay. In my opinion, if we're over a month out, we can jump this up to 15. I'm going to put this at 15. I'm going to put this at 25. I'm going to put this at 20, 15, 8, sorry, 8, 5. So I'm going to continue to go into 5, and then I'm not going to put a premium on here. Not going to put a premium down here as well. So reasoning for that is we still want to be aggressive in this. I think this 30% range is nice, but that means that your weekends got scooped up, and now it's a little bit harder to get those weekdays in. Let's just start attacking those and bringing those prices down so we can start to get that occupancy rate a little bit higher. And then see, we kind of backed off here, going from 8, 5, 5, and then no change. So if you start getting booked up here, it's not going to jump substantially. I'm going to go to 7. It's not going to decrease substantially when you start getting bookings. So it's a nice little buffer to kind of slow you down instead of doing the 10%. All right, 61 to 90. I'm actually going to start in the middle here. If we're 3 months out and we're at 50% occupancy, I think it's time to start thinking about a little bit of a jump. 5, 10, 10, 15, and 20. And I will do no change here. 7% here. I'm going to do 15 here. And I'm going to continue with a 20% here. Again, want to stay aggressive in these first 2 now, but see, we're really backing off. We backed off substantially from what we were doing in these first 3 blocks, and we also incorporated some premium buffers. I'm going to change this to 8 to give us a kind of gradual uplift a little bit. Now, when we look to 91 to 120 days, this is when we're going to have less discounts, more premiums. So I'm just going to add a small 8% here. I might stick with 8 the whole way. 5, 5. I'm going to go 8. I'm sorry, 0. I'm 60%. We're going to go to 12. 70%. We should go to 17. Might jump all the way to 20. That's pretty far out. Yeah, 25 and then 30. So you can see here we're pretty much not really messing around with decreasing the prices that much. I'm going to keep this at 10. We're only doing it for the first 3, and it's pretty minimal. So, of course, you could, depending on the market, copy and paste exactly what we did here and kind of use this strategy. I will say it's super helpful, and you'll only really play around with this in the first couple of months of you doing it. When you start to get an understanding of how this interacts with the rest of your pricing and the seasonal profiles we're going to set up, this is a super powerful tool to kind of automate the whole system. Of course, if you have any questions, drop a comment or let me know, and I'm happy to help out. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this profile. That is now our custom profile, and we will dive into a custom seasonal profile. I always do fixed, and then I also do something else. I add a base price. So what I just did there is a custom seasonal profile is your unique minimum, base, and maximum prices for a certain date range. This is typically set up not just for a holiday weekend, although you can, but you can do that a little bit easier in the calendar. This is typically set up for, if you know high season is May to October, you would use a seasonal profile. If you know shoulder season is March and April, set up a seasonal profile. Holiday season, so on and so forth. That will leave the parts of the calendar that you don't set up to your regular prices that we have over here on the left that are kind of hidden right now. So these, you want to be different from those. So what we're going to do here is just set up a high seasonal profile for this property. And for that will be the weekend of Memorial Day all the way through the end right there. Nashville is pretty lucky. They have a high season that lasts that long, and it really doesn't follow a traditional bell curve. It more is sloping up and then drops off a cliff after October. But believe it or not, October is some of the biggest bookings that we get, with the summers being quite healthy as well. So minimum price, we right now have it as $161 for the rest of the year. We're going to up this. This is a 2-bedroom home that sleeps 8. I'm going to up the minimum to $192. Now, again, you can change these as well. Our base for the rest of the year is $243. I'm going to make the base $283. Then the max price for the rest of the year is $671. I don't think the max here is going to differ all that much. However, you want to think here the highest weekend that you have. So if I'm thinking about Memorial Day, 4th of July, and a couple weekends in October, those will approach probably $800 a night. Whatever it is in your market, that's what you want your maximum price to be. So I'm going to set this at $811. And that's how we can go check out the calendar after and see how it shakes out. But the general idea here is set up a couple of these. I typically have 3 at every property. I do 1 for the shoulder season. That can be not your low season, not your high season, but when people are still coming, but prices aren't quite your basic, they aren't quite high, and they aren't quite super low. It's in the middle. 1 for the high season. This is where you really want to get your pricing right. You want to get your highest rates. You want to spend the most time adjusting this one. And then low season really comes with experience, to be honest. You have to get comfortable dipping your prices low enough where you get people in, but not too low where you attract poor guests. All of these seasonal profiles are set up in an attempt to, one, automate your calendar and your pricing, but also get the accurate prices for the month that in which you're in. Because remember, January isn't the same as June, and June isn't the same as September, and September isn't the same as December. So get away from blanket pricing. Understand that every month and every section of the year is different. All right. Finished profile. So this is a new setting, demand factor sensitivity. It used to be called something different. I go with the recommended setting. I do have high set up in a couple. Basically, I'm going to keep recommended on just because PriceLabs sucks up all this data from the market. And for you and I to go through and look at, okay, we have a concert in Nashville this weekend, or we have a festival in Los Angeles this weekend, like wherever your home is, and for you to go in and look at the market and see how prices and change, like way too much work. And also you're going to be spending so much time doing that when the tool itself can be altering those prices based on demand. On the flip side, there might be some weekends that don't have events, but a lot of people are just going that weekend. And that's something that you or I would not know without this tool. See this blue weekend right here behind my screen? Right here? That means that there's more demand there. I don't know what's going on in Nashville next weekend, but there's people coming, and it's boosting up my prices a little bit. And I'm gonna take PriceLabs' recommendation on that, because they are sourcing from the rest of the market to help better position my property. So stick with the recommended there. If you want to adjust it, you can. So smart presets. Those are super powerful. The ones you want to hit on the most: occupancy-based price adjustments and custom seasonal profiles. Last but not least, we have the more customizations. These are basically your general, very simple customizations where they kind of put everything together for you in an easy way to kind of look at it all. We already set up last minute prices. We set up occupancy based price adjustments. Day of the week pricing adjustments, I do set these up. I set these up because Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have to put a little bit of smoothing on here to kind of get those booked. And then I'll do shoulder days with a little bit of a decrease as well. Now, again, I'm a little aggressive in here. I understand the market. I understand how I set up my pricing. And I understand kind of how the demand works here. Typically, I would just say that Tuesday and Wednesday is a sure bet for you to put this on and decrease pricing. Sometimes I leave Monday not being such a big dip off. I do it here to try to extend bookings through the weekend. Sometimes I will keep it a little bit higher in markets where people typically book Sunday nights. But that's pretty rare. So this is pretty common across my portfolio, no matter where we are. Next, seasonal and minimum prices. We talked about seasonal. Minimum weekend pricing. This is something I haven't messed around with the percentage yet, but I am keen on doing it fixed. I'm not going to set a minimum for this property just yet, just because I don't understand the 2-bedroom, 8 market that well. If you understand your market and understand the minimum that you know you absolutely don't want to go below, or your break-even point, set that as your minimum weekend pricing. Same for minimum far out pricing. We did a lot with our demand factor adjustments, our seasonal profiles, and occupancy-based price adjustments. I'm going to leave this as well empty, because that would be too many cooks in the kitchen, if you will, trying to mess with the pricing. It might be something I add a little bit later, maybe after 6 months to a year, when I understand the calendar a little bit more for this particular property. But right now, I'm going to leave it blank. Last but not least, advanced customization. So these are simple. I don't use these often. A lot of them are automatically put into settings. This is basically your ability to adjust PriceLabs recommended settings. Weekend days, you can make weekend days Tuesday and Wednesday if you want, so that your weekend prices are reflected on Tuesday and Wednesday, or Thursday and Friday, rather than the default, which is Friday and Saturday. My weekends are Friday and Saturday, so I'm going to leave it at that. Demand factor sensitivity, we're just doing recommended. Customized far out prices, we talked about this. We're going to stick with recommended. I like the 20% increase. Pricing offset. This is how you can, let's click into this so I can have a full understanding. So this is the, so this is basically you saying you want your price in your calendar to be adjusted by either percentage or a fixed dollar amount above the recommended price every single time, above or below. So this is if you feel your calendar is still overall, I would say this is a big picture adjustment. If you go in there and make all these settings and you're looking out at March, April, May, and you're like, prices are maybe a little too high or a little too low, but I don't want to adjust all my seasonal profiles. I just want to adjust by 5 or 10%. Come here, change it to a 5 to 10% buffer. There you go. So we can do a 5% buffer, and that'll adjust all the recommended prices just up by 5%. Cool little tool for you to affect the whole entire calendar without you having to go adjust every single setting. Adjacent factor. This is just going to affect the days. You can pick the amount, whether it's 1 or 2, after or before a booking. This is a cool little thing to add. If you can set up a tool if you use Hospitable. I don't know, other PMSs do this, but you can send, we have a little message that comes 3 days before a stay. So let's say you were checking into our property on Friday. You would have gotten a message last night that said, hey Tim, the night before your stay is open. If you'd like to book it and extend your time in Nashville, we're offering a 10% discount for you to be able to do that. Just go and update your reservation and the discount will be shown. Same for after the booking. If it's Friday and you checked in and you're checking out on Sunday and Sunday night is open, you're going to get a message that says, "Hey Tim, Sunday night's open. If you want to extend the fun into Nashville into Monday, we're giving you a 10% discount. Go ahead and update your pricing." So this is a cool thing that we can add, and we're going to do this. We're going to add a 10% discount within 3 days. Within 1 day of the reservation. So they can just add that one night. And we can apply that to weekends as well, if that is just so every day is affected. Rounding, pretty simple. Just going to round the price up or down so you get a solid number. I advise against this. One reason I advise against this is personally, I like the look of a unorthodox number like we have in the middle of the screen. We have 171. We got 166, we got 168. We're all over the place, right? I think people or in the past, I've done this. I've gotten very hard on or stuck on the ending in a 9, 169, 299, 399. Honestly, I think the 9s are they're scaring people away a little bit, and I think these are a little bit more inviting. Just something I've kind of seen and mess around with. Maybe I'm just telling myself that, but I wouldn't want to round up to a solid number. Solid number ending in a 0 looks a little arbitrary as well. So I like to keep it as a digit other than a 9 or a 0 or a 5 for that matter. Smoothing, this is just going to set identical prices for specific periods. So if you want all January to be pretty much the same, it'll smooth out the pricing so that the average over those nights is all the same, or all those nights in one set period is the same. So that's the last thing. We went through it all, and we can just go ahead and hit save changes. Once we do that, there's going to be a big change to our calendar, which is going to be awesome. We'll get a little bit closer to the most accurate prices for the market. Boom, we already saw some adjustments here. This is fantastic. Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and make some more personal adjustments, but I won't keep you guys on the line for that. Cool thing here is now all your customizations kind of pop up in this left-hand side. You can go ahead and edit them anytime you please. You can edit your seasonal profiles right from here. And there you go. You've made all your adjustments. One way to see what's affecting the price, highlight that price and you can see how everything's working. So we've got the base price for your listing, $243. Remember, this isn't in a seasonal profile. So it's just sitting at $243, what we have over on the left side of the screen. We've got seasonality. That's a PriceLab factor, 12%, demand up 50%, but then our customizations, last minute, down 20%, occupancy-based, down 30%, and then we have our threshold with the minimum and max price kind of affecting that final say there. And then last but not least, our minimum stay is 2 nights. So you can go into any date and see how it's being affected. Cool to see, too, if we go into the summer. We can see how the seasonal price and the far out premiums, boom, we are seasonal base price is affected there and far out premium is affected as well. So hope this was beneficial to you. Always do this within a couple days of setting up your listing or the day you're setting up your listing. If you have any questions, drop a comment below or reach out. Happy to help. All right. Until next time.